Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Gebo the Shaman, and today we are looking at, the things that I've learned over my life that have really helped me out and that have taken me from someone who was just very miserable and depressed and all those things, and, you know, really changed a lot of that for me. Like, I used to be just very depressed and all that stuff, and, it's just like, just stuff happened. And I used to, feel like lethargic and not willing or whatever to get out of bed, to like go work out, go do things. I just, stayed in the house all day and stuff like that. And so for people who are going through maybe a hard time in their lives, or, maybe you're struggling with something or whatnot, like, these are just things that I've found helpful. So just wanted to make this video. So, number one, the biggest misconception is that your feelings can prevent you from doing things. Let me repeat that again. The biggest misconception is that your feelings can prevent you from doing things. Okay? So, I feel crappy, I feel awful. I'm having a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of depression. By the way, depression is not a real emotion. Depression is the inability to see a future for yourself. That's what depression is. So you get depressed when you think, oh God, you know, my life is over. I can't, you know, I can't see a future for myself. What is the point of all this? It's just not worth doing. Life isn't worth living. It's all crap and all that. That's the mentality behind depression, behind just this depressive attitude. So depression is the inability to see a future for yourself. And what depression does is like, it's the result um of like emotions and feelings that you have just been stuffing down. You're like, no, 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 I don't want to feel that feeling, so I push it down. And then through all of these years of, you know, of you being in such emotional pain, then and continuously stuffing those feelings down, that's when you manifest depression. So yeah, when Andrew Tate says, "Oh, I don't believe depression is real," he's right. It's not a real thing. It's it's what happens. It's the result of you shoving your feelings down, suppressing your feelings, and um and just that result. It's like, there's a fire hose, right? If you shut off the valve at the, where it goes and shoots water, right? Shut off that valve, but then you keep having that pressure running through the hose. It builds up to such a point where it's just like it's going to pop. It's gotta get out somehow. But then, you keep it captivated. That is the manifestation of depression. That is the cause of the manifestation of depression. And so, when we do these things, when we, shove our feelings down or whatever, and then we, like, and by the way, it's okay to have a feeling, like, just have a feeling. If you're sad, if you're angry, if you're whatever, have the feeling. Teach yourself. It's okay to feel my feelings, but it's not okay to act upon them. So this is where we get to rule number 2. Or 1, or whatever it is, I forget. But that is basically taking contrary action. So you want to sit in your room all day, eat Cheetos, and sleep all day, right? But that's what your feelings want you to do, is to depress you. So what do we do in response to that? We do the exact opposite. So instead of staying in your room, you go take a walk. Go take a walk, go to the gym, do some form of light or mild exercise. You, instead of, eating those Cheetos, you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get me a healthy snack, right? So it is acting in contradiction to your feelings that will actually manifest such great results in your life. My teacher, even when he was younger, he struggled with anger issues. And he didn't want to be nice to people. He wanted to, give them the stink eye and tell them to fuck off, right? Okay, so, but he eventually learned through someone telling him, okay, man, I know you want to go fight everyone and you want to, stare angrily at them and tell them to F off and all this stuff. But you gotta do the opposite. So, as angry and pissed off as he was, as, just like, just as hard of a time as he was having at that point in his life, he actually did the opposite. He actually started, behaving in a kind way towards others, smiling, greeting others, kindly and all that. And so, he's, what ended up happening from that was that he, like, people would come up to him and say, oh, you're such a kind person. You're so nice to be around. I love your energy, It's like you're you're really great. And and this is the thing about it. On the inside, he was raging, angry, pissed off, upset. Right? So you can literally have all those feelings within you that you have, and yet you can do the opposite. In fact, I would make a, like, I don't want to say marriage, but I I wouldn't get married, but I would make a, like, lasting commitment to any woman who, because I'm on the dating market, I'm looking for a life partner and all that right now. But I would do anything to have a woman who could say that she's murderously rageful towards me right now. Just murderously rageful, but not act on those feelings. So she can say how she's feeling. Yeah, so most people, if they were feeling murderously rageful towards someone, they would have to act that out, right? They would have to scream at them, yell at them, punch them, all that, hit them, all that crap. But that's not going to solve your feeling. Might make you feel better for a while, if you smack someone over the head with a 2x4, but it's not going to solve that anger. So, what is, what are emotions really? They are responses. They are responses of the nervous system to certain stimuli. Someone flips you off, you get angry. I don't it's like, you know. And so you think by reacting and responding out of your anger to the person who's like flipping you off, right? You think that that's actually accomplishing something. Like, oh yeah, I told him off. That's, good for me. Right? We think we're defending ourselves, we're accomplishing something. But really we're just stooping down to their level. You know, if someone, does something mean to you, then and you react like that, then you're just you know, stooping down to their level. It's just like the person who, the person who hurt you obviously is in a lot of pain, right? Because a happy, healthy person would not hurt someone else. It's like I'm perfectly fine with myself. I'm, perfectly happy. I'm not going to, want to go out there and damage someone emotionally or whatever. It's like, it's not what I'm looking to do if I'm happy, if I'm healthy, if I'm, you know, uh, in a positive mind state. But it's to respond is just, it's just like, it's, it's giving them the negative attention that they're craving. So if someone's, doing something to hurt you or saying something to hurt you, they want your attention. But instead of saying, hey, I'm really feeling awful today, I'm really feeling lonely, I'm really feeling sad and depressed, you know, they they'll act out on those emotions to get you to, pay attention to them, to respond to them. So it's, it is just, they want attention and they're doing it in a negative way, you know. So, but yeah, so when it comes to ourselves, and dealing with our own emotions. One thing that I like to do, if I'm like feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling frightened, or I'm feeling whatever, a plethora of ways, instead of, taking it out on someone else, like starting a fight, starting an argument, starting some drama with somebody else in order to try to, fix my own kind of issues by, it's kind of like a distraction, or just responding or whatever. And so what I do is I imagine myself like a little child, like a baby, and I pick my, inner child up, the one who's having all these crazy feelings and tantrums and this and that, and I just hold it, just hold it on my heart, you know. Um, because these feelings are like, how would you, here's a good way to look at it. Instead of like shaming yourself for having a negative feeling, or instead of um becoming angry with yourself for, feeling a certain way, um what I do is I say, okay, how would I treat a child with this feeling? If my niece or nephew came up to me and said, hey, I'm having this feeling, would I, oh, stop it, just suppress it, just let it go, just, don't have that feeling? Would I, oh, you're having a feeling? Here, feel worse, smack. No, I wouldn't do that, the way to deal with anyone who's having a feeling, especially a child, is to, comfort them. Say, oh, you're having a feeling, okay. Yeah, that's okay. We'll work through it, that's okay. You have every right to have that feeling. I'm not gonna take it away from you. I'm not going to try to make you, not have a feeling, because that's the other thing that people do. So, with this, I would just comfort myself. I would just say, I just, let it go, cry about it, or whatever. It's just like, just let it out. Just let things flow, you know? It's like, it's like being constipated or something. It's just like, you're not gonna, bad things will happen if you hold stuff in. Okay, right? Like, if you hold emotions in, you're going to get depressed, you're going to get, like, anger, uh, bitterness, resentment, and all that. And same thing with, it's like, just let it out. Like, comfort yourself through it and let it out. So one thing that I have done that's helpful is just like imagine the inner child, hold it, hold it, near my chest, and just like say, it's like, or just repeating like positive affirmations, like the universe loves me simply because I exist, you know, which is true. The universe loves us all because we exist. Meaning that there's nothing that we can do to increase that love. There's nothing that we can do that decreases that love. The universe loves us simply because we exist. That's it. And so that really teaches us self-love. You know, loving ourselves and all that. And so once we once we acknowledge those feelings, then we can come and do the next part, which is, okay, I acknowledge that I feel a certain way, but I'm not going to let that affect my actions. I am going to take contrary action and do what is in my best interest, even though I'm feeling crappy. So, it's like, making a decision, even though you don't feel like it, you're going to do things that are in your best interest. And then another thing I found helpful is like, okay, whenever I started really hitting the, the gym, hitting, just going, exercising as much as I possibly can, even more than I used to now. And, so anytime I feel pain, like, oh gosh, I don't want to work on that, that area of my body, or my knee feels stiff, my lower back hurts, or my deltoids hurt. It's like, that's the area of the body that needs to get the exercise. It's like, that's the area of the body that needs the exercise. And if nothing else, pain. I've really accepted this in my own life, which is any kind of pain, any kind of illness, even, blindness or disease or whatever, it's all a manifestation of our internal, of what's, internal inside of us. So, if we're having pain in our body, you can look up tension myositis syndrome, TMS. Whenever you have pain, it's about some internal emotional conflict. Some internal kind of thing. And the best way to overcome the TMS, overcome the the self-generated pain that your brain is producing, is to go in contradiction to that pain. So your elbow hurts, you're gonna do, tricep extensions. You're going to work out that elbow, right? So, you're just do it. And then what you'll find is that it's going to be, for some people it's very hard to accept this, but the pain, you need to realize that the pain is psychosomatic. So for example, you're feeling pain anywhere in your body. You're getting old. You think that your body's degenerating, right? But that's not what happens. Like, there are 90-year-olds that are doing all kinds of crazy exercises. So don't tell me. I refuse to hear that it's old age, that it's, oh, I'm just getting older. No, no, no. Any kind of pain is a manifestation of your internal and emotional conflicts. That's just a fact. And for me, I had to I had to come to terms with the fact that my blindness, my endocrine issues, all of that crap that I have since birth. Guess who created it? I did. There's nobody else who, said, "Oh, here, let's punish Vincent." Let's punish Vince with some blindness, some this and that, It's me. So it's a manifestation of my internal state. Which means that I really gotta work on myself and I really gotta, heal some really deep internal issues. Which I'm on my journey to do. So, it's yeah. So if you want to heal your own issues, if you want to heal any kind of mind, body, pain, illness, things like that, disabilities, I can tell you that my disabilities kind of point me to do certain different things, like, oh, well, I'm blind, so I better, I can't drive, so I'm just gonna stay home. Uh, which means that I need to get out more. It's doing the opposite of what I am, what I naturally want to do, which is, if I'm feeling crappy about myself, is just stay home and eat garbage all day. But no, it's about doing things to heal yourself. It's about, taking that contrary action. So if you want to stay home all day, go for a walk. Get out of the house. And I'm not saying do it all day, like, okay, I felt like being inside today, so I'm not gonna go inside at all. That's taking it too literally. Like, the point is just do something that breaks that mentality up. So, go for a 15-minute walk. Very simple. Uh, you know, it doesn't have to be this all or nothing, you know, uh, right or left, right or wrong, like, duality. You're either doing something right or wrong. It's just make progress. So if you really want to heal yourself, then you should work with me. Because I'm actually in the process of, healing my own stuff. It's oftentimes not easy. Brings up a lot of emotional pain and things from my past, things that I wasn't consciously aware of or all that. And so but yeah, it's so important to do these things to, because how are you going to live life if you don't do things that push you, that push your limits, that make you uncomfortable, that really challenge you, that, it's like, and then for the longest time, I didn't want to talk about, the childhood trauma and the abuse and neglect and the hurt and all this stuff. But through opening up about it, I found an immense amount of healing in my life. healing that I could, share these things with other people, and, that I didn't have to keep secrets anymore. So I know it's a trend on YouTube, on TikTok, or whatever, like that, there's these videos that I've seen on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, that girls, like women, are saying, asking like other women or other men, like, who do you call when you feel down? Who do you call when you feel sad? Who do you who do you lean on? Who do you turn to? And for women, oftentimes it's, oh yeah, I call my best friend, I call my mom, I call my this or that, like friend, sister, whatever. For men, it's like nobody. So for men, we often suffer in silence. We just take it. We just take the bullshit, and we suffer in silence. And so it's, yeah. I mean, in society, we've kind of been trained. Oh yeah, women are allowed to bitch. Women are allowed to have their feelings and all that stuff. Men, yeah, you better shut up. We don't want to hear it. All that crap, all that garbage with society and all that. It's just, I think, um, we might need to process things differently. I think for women it does help to talk about things and to, all that stuff. For men, I think maybe just even, men hanging out with each other, and also like, just doing something fun might help. Or just like not even talking about it, but just being around other guys, you know. Um so that, different people respond to different things differently. So for one person, like, therapy could be super helpful. For another person, therapy could not be very helpful. Um which brings up, the other day my therapist told me, I was trying to explain like my life goals and things like that are not happening, and that it's very, like, even though I've been trying, a lot to make things happen for myself, it's just not happening. And she said, yeah, it's hard. And I was like, I refuse to accept that it's hard. I refuse to accept that it's hard. Because if it's hard, that means I'm not capable of it. Which I know I'm capable. I know I'm capable of a lot of things. Reaching my dreams, reaching my goals in life and all that. And so, and you can too. It's just a matter of how far can you push yourself? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to go out of your comfort zone? Or are you not? These are the things to think about, like, okay, yeah, I know that, that I can achieve this, but if I'm not willing to take the action to go look for that apartment in Florida, or that condo or beach house in Hawaii, then nothing's gonna happen. You know? And also another thing that I'm learning is, it's not about having, having money, having, US dollars in your bank account. It's about, you know, internally, like, fixing the blocks that are preventing you from going out and doing things. A lot of people have these unconscious programs that it's not okay to be successful. It's bad to be wealthy, or this or that, or it's not spiritual to have a lot of money. It's just so ridiculous. um but those things, those beliefs, those assumptions about the world, that, oh yeah, wealthy people aren't spiritual, or whatever your assumptions are, it's just, that's a block. That's so here's another thing to look into. Your unconscious assumptions are what you base your what you base the world on, what you base your perception, your place of the world in the world on. And so it's just, it's like we have to work on creating and having the right assumptions in life. Because, somebody could have the assumption, for example, that, oh yeah, I can fly. If I jump off this cliff right now, I can, you know, move my arms and I can fly. And it's like, yeah, well, birds can fly, airplanes can fly, but, you know, not not just flapping your arms, right? So, we have to have the correct assumptions about how reality works. And so, even though I don't have the money yet to move to, Hawaii or Florida or whatever, my ideal tropical paradise, what I am focusing on is creating that world that I would like to live in. So I think it's becoming more and more about how can we unblock ourselves from our prosperity? How can we, take the actions to achieve our prosperity, our joy, and, about focusing our intention on achieving what we want in life. Okay, so those are the things. And then, we use things like contrary action, taking contrary action, acting in opposition to how you're feeling, as the blueprint to how to get there. Okay? So, and again, guys, the biggest assumption in the world right now, or I think ever, is that your emotions dictate what you do. And, so the emotions dictate what you do. Your emotions will only dictate what you do when you listen to them and act upon them. This is the whole thing. So, while you can have your emotions, you can feel however you feel. Like, those are just reactions and those are just stimulus, things, reactions to stimulus. So you can feel, suicidal and you can be kind to people. You can feel suicidal and you can work out, it's it's you you don't have to act, you know, your actions don't have to line up with how you feel. Even though I know as humans we want to take actions upon our feelings, you know. When we feel frustrated, we want to punch a hole in the wall, right? We want to, smash our head against the wall or whatever. This or that, it's those things that we do. And believe me, I've done it myself, It's just like, feeling like I need to act out in some way. And, it's. I'll tell you what, that example of my teacher acting contrary to how he felt. He felt negatively about people. He didn't want to be around people. He hated everyone. And yet he took contrary action. He, you know, was actually behaving in a kind and friendly manner towards everyone, and everyone loved him. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're so nice." That, my friends, is how you that will get you farther than anything else. Just taking the contrary action, taking the appropriate action that you need to do, while also simultaneously having your feelings, comforting yourself through them, and taking this action. And so when we, you know, it's this is the difference between a functional and fulfilled adult and a homeless person. The homeless person sits there and gets wrapped up into their delusions, and you know my I learned this from my cousin. Even, oh my god, he's delusional. He's a homeless guy, and no one wants to be around him because he's fucking crazy and delusional. And you know he's like, oh yeah, I would work at this place, but oh, that's beneath me. I don't want to do that. That's beneath me. And it's like, did you look at yourself? You're fucking homeless. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah, oh yeah, they're working at that place. That's beneath me. It's crazy. It's just, oh man. And he just wants that just proves to me that he just wants to stay stuck. He just wants to stay stuck where he is. He's comfortable being homeless. He's comfortable on the streets, getting his, stuff taken by the city because, they consider it littering because he lives on the streets and he has all his shit on the streets. So, you know, it's just, who do you want to be? This is another thing that, it's like, Okay, so this is a thing. What's it called? Like, okay, let's say you can meditate on this too. So here's what I would do. Every morning when you get up, every single morning when you get up, ask yourself, what would what would the perfect version of myself do today? What actions would the perfect version of myself take today? If I was in alignment with my higher consciousness, what actions would I take? See, that kind of thinking, just shifts your whole paradigm. It can be so powerful. It's like, okay, rather than, okay, what do I need to do today? And filling out your list of activities, checking off boxes. It's like that thinking of, okay, what would the perfect version of myself do today? What would the perfect day look like for me? And so if you're thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to be on the beach, I'd like to go scuba diving and spear gunning and fishing, then you're like, okay, well, let's look at ways to do that. So the perfect action to take, if that was what gave you joy, would be like, okay, let's look at like fishing charters, let's look at scuba diving classes, let's look at, how to move to Hawaii or to Florida or to, Queensland, Australia, South America, whatever you want, it's like, these things are just how to do that, it's like taking action on that is so important. So, it's so anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd come on here and make this video for you guys. If you guys want to see what I have to offer, go to patreon.com/Gecko the Shaman right there. Um, I have a lot of things to offer if you want to work with me personally. Then you go to patreon.com/Gecko the Shaman. And if you want to see what other services I offer, you can go to GevoTheShaman.com. Again, I have like astrology readings, I have life coaching, spiritual counseling, all kinds of stuff. Um, you know, whatever you want, like come on my website and yeah, sign up for your own tier, you know. All right, guys, that's it for me. And yeah, I love you guys, and yeah, I'm practicing what I'm preaching. I'm doing things that I normally wouldn't, and I'm taking risk, taking action, all that stuff. So, all right, guys, love you guys, and take care. Peace out, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.